Okay.
Teachers.
Do anybody knows how many people is familiar with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, once known as shell shock or battle fatigue? Anyone? Okay, PTSD is diagnosed after a person experienced a traumatic event. It could be due to a rape, it could be due to war or any kind of traumatic event. The person is not diagnosed after 3 months of suffering from this disorder. My best friend suffered from PTSD, and no one knew about it until it took us nearly 6 to 7 months to finally figure out something was wrong with her. I remember one day we were at Okehili Park and we were running like we normally do on Saturday morning. And we kind of heard this baby crying, and then she started running like a greyhound was chasing her. And I ran after her. After like 30 seconds, I finally like found where she was, and she was like watching this lady comforting her child that was crying. And she looked at me. She's like, "This is," and she just says, "This is my fault. I think I did this. I think I killed my child." And she just started crying, screaming in the park, and everyone was looking at us, and I didn't know what to do, so I called her husband to pick her up. I followed them home, and we called family and friends over, and finally, after a couple of hours of talking to her, she finally was convinced to go see a doctor. And within a couple of weeks of seeing the doctor, she was diagnosed with PTSD. Due to the fact that she lost her baby 5 months ago. PTSD, people take medication for it, but there's really not a diagnosis for it, and there's really not a reason why somebody suffers from PTSD, because everyone is different, because everyone is unique. And when my friend suffered from this disorder, I started doing research on it, trying to figure out ways that I could help her, ways I could help her cope. And one of the things that I learned is that when a person is going through an episode, no matter how crazy, how dramatic the episode is, the best thing you could do is just for you to stay calm, cool, and let them tell you what's going on. And I have a very good example of that. She was over at my house, and we were doing laundry. And I had bought her a pink blanket. And I meant to give it to somebody else, but I forgot. And she saw the blanket, and she was holding it, and she just started talking to the blanket like she was holding a baby. And at that moment, I sat next to her, and I looked at her. I'm like, and I told her, I think she would have gotten your eyes and your temper. And she was like, you honestly think so? I'm like, yeah, because I could see like you're very strong, you're very dedicated, and you have a beautiful soul and a beautiful personality. I think the baby would have gotten that quality out of you. And she just looked at me and she just smiled, and it was like, and she just looked at me and she was like, you know what? I think you need to go get a couple of bottles of wine because this is gonna be a long freaking day. My friend, she's been through so much, but you know what? With the help of her family and her friends standing beside her, she made it. And she still gets her little episodes here and now. But by us learning how to deal with PTSD patients, everyone kind of like get together and help her. And I think that's the best thing about having good friends and family is no matter how much you think that you're hurting, as long as you have someone to stand by you, someone to appreciate you and understand you, then everything will be okay. And that's what I learned from my friend. Okay, I'm done.
All right.
I'm sorry, guys. My computer just freaked out. I don't know what happened.
All right. Good thing you were able to get back in. So, all right, you're up.
Okay. In a rhetorical sense, how many of you guys either work a desk job or know someone who works a desk